Hello and welcome to another episode of Change Champions, another behind the scenes episode of this podcast. If you're new here, I'm Riley. This is Ped, my business partner. We combined for 30 plus years in coaching, consulting, and we're here to share a little bit of that experience with you today. And specifically, what we wanted to go over with you is partnerships, and
Mhm.
specifically like
This partnership.
business partnerships. This
Yeah.
partnership, yeah, as in like you have a business partner, and I feel like there's a lot of who I don't know, probably educated and probably many more uneducated guesses about what that actually looks like. So hopefully this was interesting to dig into for people as we kind of reflect through a few different layers and things that we focused on, that we've experienced, some of the pros, the cons, and yeah, hopefully you can walk away with something new here. Did I
Yeah,
miss anything, Ben?
well, I think this is one of those topics where I know that in speaking to various people in the world, on calls, etc., when I talk about having a business partner, there are some people that are curious about how we form this partnership. They go, "Where do you meet Riley, and how do you decide to be business partners, and how do you manage that relationship?" There's a lot of just like
The
maybe it's just
black organ
even
market. That's where
yes,
we.
exactly right. And I know that whenever I've shared how we went and designed our partnership, people are interested about that and find it interest and
Sure.
curious about how we go about doing it. So I thought, well, we both thought it would be interesting to share with everybody else. So should we start off by maybe even taking people back to how we even met? Because we had a client, uh, yeah, a client relationship. I was your client.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, without going into too much of my backstory, I had a client, I'll just leave it at that, that introduced us. He was a friend of yours. I think you guys were friends at the
Yeah, we
time.
were
Yeah,
friends.
you
Still
guys
are.
have a
Yeah.
yep. No longer. Um, and yeah, so my business, I was doing operations consulting, and that was growing, and word of mouth was picking up, especially in the UK, especially in London, which I believe both of you were
Mhm.
located at that time. And yeah, so we were introduced, and you became one of my operations consulting clients. Um,
That was in like
I'm
2019 or 20?
I think it was somewhere around there. I think it was late 2019
Yeah.
is when it was. And uh, after that relationship ended, I think it was, yeah, I had left, kind of dissolved my business.
To go.
I let go of 90% of my clientele. Yeah, to
Yeah.
become a chief operating officer for one of my other clients who had a startup. But we kept in touch, and uh, just on and off. Like it wasn't, I don't know. Like we
Yeah.
just
We kept in touch.
popped in, yeah, here and there, and eventually we were giving some updates on kind of where your business was headed, where my business was headed. I had left the COO role and was starting out on my own again. And so, yeah, long story short, there, we just realized that we kind of were arriving at a similar place and maybe had some potentially compatible uh, skills, services, interests,
Mhm.
and values, of course. But we didn't just take that for granted. We really spent a lot of time here, and I might hand the mic back over to you on the design piece of this
Yeah.
partnership, this relationship.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually even going to share a little bit more context because I think the design piece makes sense when I share my experience of having been self-employed since 2011. And in that time, 2011 to 2019, or even actually beyond that, when we started to talk about becoming business partners around 20, it was actually November 2022, we mooted the idea. I think it was 22, 23. It was maybe 23, wasn't it?
Maybe
2000.
we should have nailed down these dates before
Yeah,
we
no,
hit
right.
record.
Well, I think we just mooted
Yeah.
the idea of what would that look like? And then I think we started to have the conversations in the early
Right, right.
2024. That's when it was. But in
Okay.
that time from 2000, so 13 years, I had operated my business as more like a freelancer for a lot of that times, not all of it, and had like de facto partnered with a lot of people in that time. Either they brought me in as a subcontractor, so maybe I wasn't a complete partner, but there was definitely other instances where I had gone into joint projects, joint bids as equal partners. Sometimes I would bid for some work and bring somebody on who we treated as like an equal partnership, or other times it was the other way around. But there was always like this kind of weird subcontracting thing going on in the eyes of who the client was ahead of us. And so there was essentially a tapestry of different ways that I had partnered with people to do work. And I had seen the good, the bad, and the ugly for sure. Like this things that were left unsaid, assumptions that were just left to fester, for want of a better expression, or even
Yeah.
where there was an agreement, just not really honoring it in a true way, and potentially like actually just having resentment come through. So when it comes to designing our partnership, I know that I came into that from my own desire to make sure that we are starting on a solid footing, and you had also had your own version of that coming into it as well. uh, I don't want to obviously speak on your behalf, but I know that you experienced a divergence of um, vision or values or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, I think a lot of times like those kinds of things can naturally happen, but it's almost like I think the easiest way to understand this is like if you were in, if you like if you got married and you are thinking about signing like a prenuptial agreement. A lot of times people well I don't know. I think most people might think that that can come across as like unromantic. It's like, oh, you're planning for a divorce as you get married? Like that's strange. Um, but I think probably potentially even more so in business, it is really much the norm. It's I think it's fair and responsible to just think through all the different potential outcomes, and kind of what you're doing is you're saving yourself. Reminds me of that phrase, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And it's like just by doing a little bit of pre-work and deciding, well, what direction, what vision, what
Yeah,
values, like where you're headed, it just saves so much headache, heartache,
yeah,
and all the rest down the road. And so I think we both were aware of that, and so we both wanted to put that time. I mean, quite a bit of time actually, time,
yeah.
effort, and energy. Even
Well,
brought in a
a
lawyer
lawyer.
to take all of that and put it in,
Well,
into a
also,
contract.
if you remember, Riley, we didn't even have a, a predefined or preconceived idea of what a partnership might look like, because we started the process just to even see what shape that might look. It wasn't that
Mm.
we were working towards becoming business partners, because we had put other options on the table: referral, affiliates, like even just champions of each other's work and pointing people in each other's direction. That was part of all the eventualities that we could have gone, in front of us, which made the conversation, I think, just very open, right? Because we essentially in the design piece, we set ourselves 3 months to see what the partnership could look like, and we committed to meeting every Friday for 90 minutes, 2 hours or so each time. And we laid in our first session, we laid out a bit of a roadmap or the milestones around where we wanted the conversations to go, and
Mhm,
I
mhm.
and we'll have to go back to it specifically, but I remember it being around our individual visions for what we want for our lives and how we want our business to support that.
Yeah.
Um, we we then started to explore, if we were to be a business partners, like what roles do we want to play in the partnership? What roles do we see each other playing?
Yep.
And all of these things that we laid out. Oh, we talked about our our hopes, our fears, all these different things that, like you said, left unsaid, including how do we want to handle disagreement or conflict, all these stuff that, like I said, has reared its ugly head in other partnerships because they weren't said. And
Yeah.
we give
We
it
even talked about how to spell things.
to
American versus British spelling. Yeah, I mean, we got pretty detailed. Um, and but at the same time, to your point, like I just want to emphasize the openness that we both came into it with. And it's funny you mentioning that. It makes me think of like how many parallels there are to what we teach our clients, maybe not necessarily with regard to finding a partner, but with finding a client. It's very much the same attitude. It's like openness, curiosity, it's having conversations. It's not um, you can lead the conversation and move it in a direction, but that doesn't mean that you're not pushing someone into a corner, into a preconceived idea. And neither of us, did that to each other. And then in terms of uh, yeah, just that whole design piece, it's this it's almost like this dance, this balance between um, having that architecture, like that intentional design and guiding the vision of a project or partnership or proposal, depending on what we're talking about here, like the context, versus going with the flow and being open-minded to, oh, well, my partner or my client or this project is asking for, XYZ. Uh, can I deliver on XYZ? Am I open to, framing or wording or,
yeah,
whatever the thing is? Can I align to that um, request?
that vision. Yeah, it's like it's the trust the process thing, isn't it? Right? There is a process
Yeah.
with milestones. You've got to go through them. The outcome will look different based on who the two people are that are discussing the partnership, because
Mhm.
in the same way that we teach our clients around collaborative value creation, that you are
Mhm.
co-creating your offer with your clients in the same way that we were co-creating our partnership together versus here's a preconceived idea of what it might look like.
Yeah. It's yeah, quite similar. I didn't really realize how similar it is. And if you're interested in that process, by the way, networkandsell.com, you can check out the our kind
The
of
roadmap.
flagship or initial program community, and there should be a link somewhere
Well,
below
well,
for like a free trial of that. Um, but yeah, I think that yeah, the process is it's respecting that process. And for us, I mean, we've hit on a lot of different parts, but I don't think it has to be identical for like if you or you're listening and you're or watching and you are looking for a partner, you're thinking about a business partner. I don't think you have to, cookie cutter copy exactly what we did, but I think hitting those milestones is in my opinion, it's a must because
yeah,
I think it just covers all your bases the same way that like the roadmap that we talk
yeah,
about with our clients. It's like, yeah, you can flex and flow and make this your own, and you have your own unique niche and this and that. But like, there is a process, just like there
yeah.
is no business without sales. It's like you can't just skip sales and think you have a business, and I don't think you can skip a values conversation and expect to have a long-term, successful, fulfilling
Yeah.
partnership,
Well,
whether it's in business or otherwise.
yeah, there's the roadmap. And I'd say there's probably a few things that we haven't mentioned yet, and I'll just mention them now, that are probably worth other people making sure that they cover like we did. Exit clause. What do we want to do if we both or one of us decides that this is not a partnership that we want to pursue? Like we had that tough conversation. It didn't feel
Yep.
tough at the time. It was very open, but it can be a tough conversation later on had we not had that conversation
Yeah, you want to have it when the
before things
emotion's not there.
exactly right. And
Yeah.
talked about
And have the game
remu-
plan.
remuneration, how we manage money, like, and we just got on the
Yep.
same page with all those things.
Yep.
We even got very honest around what's our like day-to-day costs and what we need our businesses to earn and all that stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'd say that the impact of all of that, and we are now 2 years then into having initially had those conversations. Yeah. Two, three.
Yeah.
I'm like
Two.
getting my, it must be two. Was it two?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
we we have. I feel that we have both, and you can tell me if I got this right or wrong, lent so heavily on those initial conversations and the trust that we built there for pretty much every single decision and every single meeting we've had. It's felt like that has provided that solid ground for us to do everything we've done since.
Yeah, it's actually so solid that we probably don't even need to talk or meet as much as we do. So another thing on there is like we have regular checkpoints and like related to the vision and values, but we also just have regular check-ins just for like business as usual type stuff. That's much more frequent, and and probably just the fact that we actually like each other and enjoy
You're
each
all
other's
right.
company. Probably makes those things like I don't know, like less efficient or less like we can talk we talk about life and stuff out other than like it's not just 100% just business mode all the
Right.
time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
um yeah, I guess my point is like because we had those conversations early on, there's probably we probably don't even need to have as many checkpoints because it's just clear enough. Like our decision making is so sound or so aligned on, especially with regard to the roles and responsibilities that we've carved up. So we're very clear on, what is your responsibility, what's mine, who has the final say in which. I'll just say department. I mean, we are the departments, but you know what I mean. Which sections of the business, like product marketing, et cetera. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's so many things that go into it, but I just, for time's sake too, for people listening, I mean, if and there have been people that have asked me, I don't know about you, Ped, but asked me this question in Network and Sell, inside of that community. It doesn't happen too often because we're usually working with solopreneurs, but um, I think it's there's obviously a lot of details that go into it, but hopefully this just as an overview is helpful for people in terms of like the breadth of things to consider when you're getting into a partnership or even if you're looking for one, which to me I think can segue into some of the like other outcomes and logistics that go along with having a partner to maybe just help weigh up the pros cons list if you're
Yeah,
thinking
good.
about
Let's
that.
do it.
Um, so I mean just logistically speaking, there are two people. So uh, that means you can get a lot more things done. It also means that like you are splitting revenue. I mean, depending how you carve up your finances, but that's what we do. Um, so I think we talked about the way I'd heard it put was if 1 + 1 = 2, then is it really worth partnering? It's probably just more, operational drag and things that, more logistics and complexity. But if 1 + 1 can equal 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever, if it can compound, um, then it can make sense. And so we had a lot of discussion about that. And we also had a lot of discussion, to be fair, that we both knew there was going to be a little bit of a setback when we came together because there is a lot of operational drag and just like we had to merge two programs, two entity, to like there was just so many
Yeah,
moving
I
pieces.
mean, our logins for our SaaS products are the shambles. We've got probably about three, four different, five different email addresses across.
Yeah, it's all
The,
people
the,
don't care
the,
about that. But
made it. We've
the
officially made it work.
yes, there's some like super boring, monotonous things that you're just gonna have to deal with in business in general, but even more so when there's two people involved, and in tech and my God, there's just the list can go on. But point is, some of the highlights is if I want to take time off before, I either still needed to check in with my clients, because I had promised them, that I would, or whatever the commitment was, or I just nothing was happening. There were no sales. There was no fulfillments. There was just there. I mean, maybe if I'd scheduled some posts for content, they might go out, but
Yeah.
that's it. Whereas now there's another person. So unless we're both taking time off and we both plan for that, then things are happening. Like I remember, I think it was the first time that you had a sale, and I think I was sleeping, and because we have 5 hours between us,
Yeah.
time difference, and so I thought that was pretty cool. And I don't know if you remember the first time that happening as well, because it's
Yeah.
happened both ways. Um, but yeah, the productivity can kind of go both ways. But then there's also there's other things to consider too. But I wonder if you have any to add to
Yeah,
the
well,
list
on
here.
the wholesale thing, I don't remember the first one
Yeah,
exactly, but I do remember being my
yeah,
brother's wedding last summer, and I think in that time, in the week that I was out in Greece, I had my brother's wedding. I think you closed two clients in that time, and I
yeah.
remember thinking, "This is great." I'm on a Greek island, enjoying my brother's wedding, and yeah, and so that felt more salient there. I'd actually also say potentially something that we may not. It's almost such a big part of the fabric of how we operate, and that we don't always. It's always just what I'm going to say. It's there in the background that it's easy to forget. And there's something that you did this weekend, just gone, Riley, which was to send a voice memo, just expressing gratitude for the partnership and camaraderie and just being in this together. And it's not that that was the only time you've done that. It's not the only time that, and I know I've done that in other times as well. It's just now and again, something will happen where I get reminded and you get reminded that it's just easier and better and more fun and supportive when you've got someone to go on this entrepreneurial journey with.
Yeah. I think for most, I think that's true. I know I appreciate having the accountability structure support, which and we can talk about that in a second too. Um, but yeah, I just pros cons. I feel like we're talking about a lot of pros. I think some of the cons though that might be worth sharing just logistically is there, like we said, operational drag. You have to make sure that if you are both using different systems, different softwares, different logins, etc., like if you want to have a one source of truth, one consolidated system process or whatever, like you want to have that. You need to simplify things. I mean, God, it takes me back to the work I was doing as an operations consultant. um and we both, except this time we were both sharing it and doing it for each other. And um there's like we're 5 hours apart, I just mentioned. And so I mean, that's always felt doable for me. But if you were 8, 10, 12, you know, just literally where you live, like location, I think that matters too. I guess the pro is that, we cover more time zones in terms of like our client facing work. But other than that, it'd probably be much easier if we were just in the same time zone. We'd have a lot more overlap. It'd be, you wouldn't have to, there wouldn't be a delay in
You go for a beer
my
after
morning,
work.
your evening, whatever. Yeah, actually, just God, even that. Well, and I also think that would make things more efficient as well, because then there's meeting times where it is just about
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
and then you have more overlap to be able to like. Um, we met up in person in France for the first time this last summer that's gone, past summer. Um, and we were able to cover a lot of ground talking about work stuff and personal stuff. And so it just, yeah, it feels, I don't want it to be a cop out answer and just saying logistics, but there just are a lot of them. Like whether it's within the business, outside the business, the timings, the scheduling holidays, they just all of it. You're traveling,
Yeah.
coming up, like I need to be aware of when you're traveling. Like it's kind of like when you're single versus being in a relationship. And it's like when you're single, it's just you. And that's
Yeah.
like, there's no other, you don't have to think about anyone else. But when in a relationship, it's like, no, I have to, what about this other person?
It reminds me, and this is so cliche to say, but it's that whole thing of if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go further or farther, depending on
Yeah.
how you want to pronounce
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
go with
Which is
others.
a great segue into the accountability. I feel like we
Yeah.
hit on them a second ago.
Yeah, well, I know you mentioned accountability earlier, but I know that when we met, I had an accountability buddy. I actually still meet with my accountability. We're friends now, and we talk about other stuff. But I had an accountability buddy primarily because I needed some external source of accountability to hold me accountable to do the things that I needed to do for my business, which
Yeah.
was great. Like I said, I'm still friends with my accountability buddy, Matt. It's you if you're watching this. And but then when me and you are together, there's like ultimate accountability. There's implicit accountability around what we're doing because it's like your livelihood, your business is on the line
Mm.
if I don't do the things that I said I was going to do for whatever it is that we said we were going to do. And so
Yeah.
there's something really healthy about that, in that I don't want to let you down, and therefore I don't want to let myself down from doing the things that I said I was going to do, which does mean that we do move quickly. Like even though some things might take, because we are biting bigger and bigger projects that have much longer
Yeah.
term
Yeah.
impact.
Yes.
Like it's not like a I'll do this in 2 weeks time, we'll check in. It's like no, this is a three
Trying to
month.
add and test this landing page.
Yeah,
Like
no,
that.
this is like
That used to feel like a big project to me.
yeah, I know.
That's
Now they're like
nuts to
this
think.
project's a 3 month project or a 4 month project.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we wouldn't have been able, we wouldn't be able to get those projects done individually if we didn't have the other person doing their projects or taking on business as usual responsibility. At least that's how I see it.
Yeah. No, I mean the quality of even like our, so we talked about network and sell, but our where we spend most of our time with our clients is inside of Leverage Accelerator. Because it's way more hands-on. But there's way more support as well. But we re-recorded all of the content for that program. And I remember first launching my pilot and recording all the content for that. Not only has the quality improved since then, we've come together. I think that's a big part of your skill set, but the just sheer volume of getting that kind of work done was it was a lot for me. And I think you did even more of it than I did. And it's just, yeah, we have our, that again, it's that 1 + 1 = 3 conversation where you have your strengths, you have your skills, and you try to figure out the best way to deploy them, which also means trust and letting things go. And it's, full circle back to the whole values conversation. But I think when it comes to that accountability, yeah, I don't even like, I literally don't even think about it. It's not even an option for me. Like we were talking before we hit record here about just, for people who aren't on our newsletter, check it out. People say they love it. We both write our newsletter. We sort of like take turns at it. And I needed to schedule the next newsletter. If I was on my own, I know so many coaches and consultants who have a newsletter or had a newsletter that just kind of like, oh, I didn't get to it this week. It disappeared, or then, whatever. And then it just kind of like disintegrates. And that's just like, it's just not an option. It literally doesn't even cross my mind. Whereas like, oh, I'm tired or I'm busy or this or that, or we got a new puppy and I'm waving my hand. I don't even know if people can see how chewed up it is from this damn puppy. But it's it's just the little things like that times 100. There's so many of them, and there's no like magic, silver bullet with business success. But like you said, it's we're biting off bigger and bigger pieces, bigger projects that I personally, I don't know, having someone else to look it over, give feedback, someone that you trust that has been there. I mean, it checks a lot of boxes.
Yeah,
Put it that way.
I agree. Yeah, it's especially because sometimes you get blinded by, oh, you can't see the forest through the trees. Is that the right
Yeah,
expression? When just
sure.
staring at this project that you've been working on, like copy or um, a strategy, it's like, hey, help me like make sense of this. And
Yeah.
that stuff you could spend so long umming and ahhing and second guessing yourself, but having somebody else just go, yes, no, yes, and here's how I do it differently. I think that stuff is where it might seem slower in the moment because we're really making sure that it's thorough, but that then allows us to move a lot quicker when it comes to implementation.
Well, yeah, and it helps you avoid making mistakes. And I think that's, I mean, that's a big part of why, at least for me originally, I assume it's the same for you. We haven't actually talked about this, but that's a big part of why the community component of, what we provide for our clients, I think is so important as well, because it helps you get that outside
Mhm.
perspective, gives you, obviously they have access to us as well. And in our accelerator program, there's like other expert coaches, but, um, it's yeah, that outside perspective is, yeah. I think the British version is can't see the woods through the trees, and the American version is the forest through the trees. But whatever version floats your boat,
Whatever it is.
it's a really, yeah. It's hard to, when you're too close to the problem that you're
Yeah.
trying to solve. It's yeah, you go much faster with that outside perspective, and I think that's also why, people listening in the, coaching space, facilitation space. I mean, that's what the job is, right? It's to, you're giving outside perspective,
To other
you're
people.
being a soundboard, you're being a mirror, yeah, you're guiding a process. And yeah, it's just kind of practicing what we preach,
Yeah.
really.
And my final thought around this is, and yet, when you're a coach or a consultant or a facilitator where you work with other people, it's still a kind of an isolating profession, especially if you're a solopreneur. And I know that we've spent the time talking about how we've designed our partnership, but all those things that we've just shared, and I know that Riley, you've inferred this already, is for me at least a big driving force around making sure that we give that support from a roadmap perspective, from an outside perspective, from just a champion perspective and accountability perspective, all the different things that
Emotional,
I
yeah.
feel like we get from our partnership when people don't have the luxury of having a partner because they just don't want one, because they're solopreneurs, they just want to do it by themselves, or they maybe are searching for the right partner, and they haven't found it yet. I like the fact that we provide that for others in our communities.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not common to, I mean, you and I had already been in business for, like, separately for a total of what, 23, 5,
Agree.
4, 5
Well, yeah.
years, something like that, years before we actually uh started talking about coming together. So um yeah, I think that's another thing is, not just following blind advice, but actually like people who are in the trenches with you, or who have been in there before you. I think that's, yeah, invaluable. But maybe I'm biased. Who knows? Anyway,
Maybe I am.
I think that's a
That
I
might
think
be
that's
the
a
end of
good
it. Yeah.
ending point for the podcast episode. So again, change champions. Share it with someone else. By the way, if this resonated with you, or they're thinking about a partnership, maybe this would be helpful for them. And like I said before, if you aren't on our newsletter, check that out. There should be a link below, leverageaccelerator.co. You can join the rest of the readers there. And until next time, see you on another episode.
Bye bye.